Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So if you're given a choice between a salty snack or a sweet snack, which do you prefer?
Both.
I want salty.
Salty.
I'm a salt.
He's sweet.
I'm salt. French fries, tater chips,
Right?
salt and carbs. Don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing on no donut. I do enjoy me a donut. But I prefer the salty stuff.
Yeah.
So here's some facts about salt. Salt is a mineral comprised of sodium chloride. Salt does not burn. Once it reaches a certain temperature, it ionizes the flame around it. Meaning if you apply heat to sodium chloride, salt, two little ions are released, and electricity shoots back and forth and changes the color of the flame. Table salt turns flame yellow. You can even check salt to see what it's contaminated with by applying heat to it. If it turns green, there's a little copper in there. If it turns blue, there's I think it was manganese. I remember. It changes color. You can see what's compromised in the salt by the flame it produces.
Wow.
But salt, when it hits to 1,474 degrees, melts. It melts like ice cream. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Cools off, resolidifies, still salt. That's kind of neat.
That's really neat.
You keep putting that heat to it, you get to 2,575 degrees, salt will boil. Cool it off, still salt.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. That's salt.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's just salt. You can get it hot, still salt. That's kind of neat.
That's really neat.
There's a lot of uses for salt. We use it to season our foods, right? We use it as a preservative because it's hydrophilic, which means it attracts water. Hydrophobic repels, hydrophilic attracts, okay? And in humid temperatures and humid environments, you leave salt on the table or like sugar, it gets clumpy. It's because it's sucking humidity out of there. That's what salt does, it's hydrophilic. That's why we put it on beef jerky. You put it on beef jerky, it starts pulling the salt out as you dry it, it's drying the meat. It also makes it inhospitable to bacteria. It sucks the moisture out of the bacteria, shrivels and kills it. And leaves a saline, salty residue, so it can't grow new stuff. So it preserves. That's why you don't put salt on a steak before you grill it. It's just sucking the moisture out, giving you a dry steak. So, the presence of salt inhibits bacteria, and we talked about bacteria, we talked about bread and yeast. You add yeast and sugar to your bread to make it rise. That's why you don't put the salt in with the sugar and the yeast right away. It inhibits the growth. It retards the yeast. So you're supposed to get your yeast to bloom, add a little flour, and then start putting your salt in. Otherwise it's going to retard the growth of your yeast. It kills microbial life. That's what it does. That's what salt does. So the same reason back in antiquities, when an invading army would come in and want to make an area completely inhospitable to other people, they would salt the earth. You ever read about that, salting the earth?
Yes.
That's what it comes from. They literally did it. Literally shoveled salt around till it snowed outside. Because that would kill the microbial life in the dirt, choking, killing the grass,
Wow.
killing the crops. It would rain, it'd suck that water up, and it'd filter and leach the salt into the ground. Then kill the trees. It keeps going, it keeps going, then it's in your groundwater. Dig a well, you got salty water. You can heat it up if you want, it's just gonna melt and come back. That's what it means to salt the earth. So why am I talking about salt? I came across some stuff in the Word that I had never noticed before. Let's start out with Leviticus 2:13. I've read this before, I'm sure you've all read this. It just popped out at me. You shall season all your grain offerings with salt. You shall not let the salt of the covenant with your God be missing from your grain offering. With all your offerings, you shall offer salt. Salt is a key ingredient in the offering. Salt is not the offering. It's to be included in the offering. And God even says it will be included in the offering.
Wow.
Why? Offerings brought to the temple were doomed for one of two things. The Levites were going to eat it, or two, right in the fire she goes. God says, that's to be a sweet aroma to the Lord. Your offering is. Salt doesn't burn. I don't know about you. You ever left something burning on the stove and thought, is there enough salt in that? I don't know. Maybe God can smell better than I can. I don't know. Maybe it's in there, not for him. Maybe it's something for us to look at. Maybe there's something more to the salt. Maybe it's something symbolic. Let's turn to Numbers 18 and 19. So I started looking up salt. This is the Lord talking to Aaron here about offerings. Their meat will be yours, like the breast that is waved and the right thigh. They'll be yours. Remember I talked about either Aaron's going to eat it or it's going in the fire, one of the two things. All the contributions of holy things that which the people of Israel offer to the Lord, I have given to you, your sons and your daughters with you. This is the perpetual law, an eternal covenant of salt, before the Lord and you and your descendants. We have different wording here. Now we have an eternal covenant of salt. We went from salt of the covenant of God to the covenant of salt. The wording's pretty important here because the covenant's a contract between you and God.
Yep.
Maybe this salt is something that's symbolic. So to get a little better understanding, we're going to take off our American filter glasses here, okay? Look what the ancient Hebrews thought about this. Due to its high melting point, talked about that it was 1424 degrees, something like that, Hebrews viewed salt as indestructible. They also used it as a preservative. They knew that if you salted the earth, it was pretty permanent.
Really?
They viewed salt as a symbol of purity. In Exodus 30:35, the Lord tells the Israelites to make incense blended as by a perfumer, seasoned with salt, pure and holy.
Wow.
So if we apply these ancient Hebrew filters to what a covenant of salt is, they're saying the covenant is permanent, indestructible, and preserving. A covenant of purity.
Wow.
That's what a covenant of salt is.
Wow.
Very cool.
Do you think of any other covenants of salt that are in the Bible? It's in there more than once. Any
Wow.
other ones?
Yeah.
Can you think of any examples? Can you think? I didn't know this, so. Okay. Go to Chronicles 2:13, verse 5. We need to verify the word with the word, right? Don't get out some strange teachings here. You ought to know that the Lord of God of Israel gave kingship over Israel forever to David and his sons by a covenant of salt.
Huh.
There it is again.
Yeah, wow.
Huh.
That's in there twice now.
Wow.
So we have a pure, permanent, indestructible, and preserving covenant that the kingship over Israel goes to David and his lineage. Well, so much for that. Israel wasn't a country for the last 2,000 years. And now they're a parliamentary democracy. So much for that. Well, Daniel 7:13 through 14 says something different. And night vision, behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to him the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there he was given dominion and glory and a kingdom. Oh, okay. All the people, nations, languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that shall not pass away, and his kingdom which shall not be destroyed. His dominion is everlasting. That sounds permanent. It shall not be passed away. It shall not be destroyed. That sounds salty to me. There's a dad joke for you. Gotta throw it in there. Yeah. So the kingship mentioned in 2 Chronicles is still in effect. Still going on today.
Wow.
And a descendant of David still wears the crown today. He's never given it up. But Daniel did not specify him and call him an heir of David, did he? Daniel didn't say that. In Luke 1:32, though, we have another story. He will be great. He'll be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord will give him a throne, the throne of his forefather David, and he will rule over the house of Jacob forever. There will be no end to his kingdom. There it is. His forefather David. Jesus of the line of David will rule forever. His kingdom has no end. That is permanent. That is everlasting. Colossians 1:13, he has rescued us from the dominion of darkness and transferred us into the kingdom of his dear Son. That's life preserving. It's a preserving effect. He has rescued us from darkness, preserving us. Revelations 19:16, on his robe, on his thigh, King of kings and Lord of lords. Talking about Jesus here.
Yep.
From these scriptures, Jesus has been, currently is, and will continue to be the King.
Yes.
Through a covenant of
Amen.
salt.
That's right.
The pure, permanent, indestructible part, that's all Jesus.
Yeah.
The preserving part, that's Jesus too, but it's for us. He's our lifesaver.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's our preserver. Jesus, the Son of David, is the King over all creation.
Yes.
He's the King of kings, the Lord of lords,
Yep.
the Son of the Most High. He rules over the universe. He's our King, the Son of David.
Yes.
He's rescued us from the domain of darkness and transferred us in the kingdom of heaven. Jesus is the covenant of salt. He is the pure, the indestructible, the permanent,
Yes.
and life-preserving King. Amen?
Amen.
Amen. That's Jesus.